Welcome back. djdiamondk in here, of course, on Fire TV. And during election time, I always stress the importance of voting, the importance of participating in the process. And today we are very pleased to be joined by Senator James, who is going to talk with us about her campaign and a bunch of other things. Senator James, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing, Diamond Cake?
I'm wonderful. So you are out and about, and I am glad that you have allowed some time to talk with me and be able to share some information with our listeners. Happy Sunday to you, by the way.
Happy Sunday.
So I guess I want to start with what are the two most important challenges to the residents in your district, and what can you do to solve these challenges?
Okay. I'll say that my district is very diverse because it is part of three different counties: Fulton County, Cobb County, and Douglas County. And so, but there are some common denominators, some that are really tough for all three, and that is protecting homeowners' rights. And because they have HOAs in most of these beautiful subdivisions that they built, and many of the HOAs are predatory. They are literally stealing people's homes. So I've been working on trying to make sure that we look out for our taxpayers, our homeowners, and make sure all HOAs are not bad, but there are so many. And I've opened up the door by having hearings at the Capitol. And when I thought that I'd have 50 people, I had a packed room, standing room only. Fire marshal had to come, and then I had to have 5 more hearings because
Wow.
people are losing their homes for little things like not cutting their grass often enough, or painting their shutters pink and not white, or or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and building a rock garden in the front yard that they may have spent $5,000 to get a landscaper to put on there, and it's very beautiful, but the covenant didn't allow it. So what they do is they start finding them, and then they add more liens against them per day, $100 added to it every day that you don't change it.
Yeah. Folks can't afford that. Yeah.
People can't afford it. And just like they can't afford the rent anymore. I've had more people to come and say, can you lift the prohibition on rent control? And I, of course, have been working on doing that. But Georgia is one state that way back in 84 uh, had a prohibition against any kind of rent control or caps on the rent. So that means that cities and counties can't even do anything about it if somebody decides to quadruple their the rent from one year to the next. They can't do anything about it unless we lift that. So I put legislation in to do that, and we're still working on it. So hopefully
That's
we can
important work.
say yes.
That is important work. And so you represent Atlanta's 35th district. And as you said, it's a large area. It's very diverse. Have you been, impacted, your community been impacted by redistricting?
Absolutely, because after December 31st, I will no longer be the senator from the 35th. I will have to run in the brand new 28th district, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And even though it's composed of about 40% of my old district, because I'll still have, Union City, Chattahoochee Hills, and the city of South Fulton. So I'll still have that. But, and also I'll have most of Douglasville and all of Lithia Springs that I already had. But now I'll have Austell, Georgia, Mapleton, Georgia, Smyrna, And I've never had those districts before. So personally, my district is very impacted. And they changed the numbers. In fact, they did it to all of the senators who have been there for a while. I guess the majority, we're not in the majority party. So the majority rules. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough votes to stop it. So yes, it's bad that the whole state was gerrymandered, in my opinion, when the courts told them to add new districts. And I don't want to talk about black and white all the time, but that's exactly what they said. Do not you got to add two more Senate black districts, one more congressional, and five more House districts. But what did they do? They took the districts, like I had a 79% black district, which they it was mostly Democrats.
Right.
So what they did is sliced and diced it. And now I have this new one is 51%. In fact, all of the
51% black.
yes.
Mm.
So it's went from 79% to 51%. And what they did is put a little my district all over the place, and that's what they did to Senator Gail Davenport's district and many of the others. And three of the ones who had been there even longer than me just decided not to run again, so they will not even offer themselves to serve one more time. I'm afraid that we got so many bad pieces of legislation that's almost passed that if we don't have someone to stand up and speak out for us and fight for us, we're gonna be in big trouble. So that's one thing. Plus, look at the we were having a struggle with our Medicaid expansion.
Yeah,
Georgia is one of the few states that does not have an expansion on Medicaid, and we
that is
have
true.
so many sick people and so many disabled people who need to get different programs from Medicaid, but because they didn't expand Medicaid like other states did. So we one of the few states that didn't do it, and consequently, our tax dollars on the federal level don't come back to Georgia. They go in the general budget instead of coming to us and taking those people off the waiting list and making sure that the people who need help get help. And so we've been fighting. We just lost by one vote. So I certainly hope people are going to remember that. And we're calling it all souls to the polls. We
Yes,
want to get to the polls on that May 21st primary, because
yes.
we have a primary in just a few days. And they have an opportunity to go. And some people say, it's going to rain. I said, I don't care if it rains or not. You need to get to the polls. Vote
Because
for
it is important. It's important.
yeah,
Uh,
support. And because it'll rain, if we get the wrong people in there, it'll rain on us for the next whole few years, every day. But for
Absolutely. Republicans would like to make it rain on on our community. So if reelected uh and I'm speaking that into existence.
thank
Uh,
you. Thank
what are some of your priorities? What are some of your priorities? We talked about a few things, but what are some of your key priorities if reelected?
Well, I want to make sure that we have continue to have quality public schools. So we need to fully fund the schools from K through 12, and we don't do that right. Also, I want to continue to work on improving our streets and roads and bridges and even our uh, railroad tracks, everything in transportation. So DOT has so many state roads that they have to service, and they're not being serviced in some areas. They're
Yeah.
not being serviced at all. So we want to make sure that we work on that, as well as uh, I told you about the livable housing conditions that I want to make sure that we do too. And people talk about affordable housing. What is affordable housing? Well, we want to know what is affordable now because of the prices. So we're going to try to define in some kind of legislation, I want to define what we call affordable housing. So
You
that's
mean
just
so
to know.
something related to the income of the constituent?
Correct, correct. And also, the biggest thing I think that I want to work on is what I've been working on for a few years, because there are more than 200,000 people in my area without access to a hospital. They closed two of the Atlanta hospitals, and we have not replaced them. They have trauma center or some other things, but they don't have a hospital with a trauma center like Grady. So all the people who get sick in my area take 30 minutes or more to get to Grady Hospital if something happens to them in an emergency. And that's, they don't, all hospitals, some of the private hospitals won't take them. So
Yeah.
we have a public trauma hospital. So a couple of years ago, I got with East Point and the city of South Fulton and other municipalities. And I've been talking to Fulton County to try to get a hospital authority. Most of them didn't want to get a hospital because they were afraid that if something happened, they'll be sued and they could go bankrupt in their cities. But a hospital authority would be the one to have to take on any kind of problems that come up. And a hospital authority can be formed through the state of Georgia, and it'll be easier to get a CON. Uh, and you have to have that in order to open a hospital now. A certificate of need is what CON means. And so we need to try to continue to work on that so that we can have, if somebody gets sick or have a heart attack or have a car accident, I want to make sure that they can get help. I know
Quickly.
when
Yeah.
I first got elected, Diamond, my first year there, my teenage son that was a senior at Westlake High School was driving on Camp Creek, got to my street, and when he was trying to turn Butner, this 18-wheeler hit him. And
Oh my.
the man had 5 previous DUIs. He
Mm.
took my child's life a
Oh
few
my.
miles from my house that day. And I had just gotten elected a legislator. So in Kerry's memory, I couldn't bring him back, but I said, let us change the law. So I did. I changed a lot of the teenage driving laws, because back then you could have a learner's license at 13, believe it or not, and they didn't require you to have a whole lot of training. But now we changed that completely. But I didn't change it. I let the teenagers come and up to the Capitol time and time again, and we wrote the law, and then it passed. But that's so much that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Let us save the people. Let us save everybody on the roads. And so that is one thing that I want to make sure that not only do we improve the streets, but the road safety is so important.
Absolutely. What kind of support have you been getting from your colleagues with regards to some of these things that you've outlined?
Well, the hospital authority, I was having a lot of trouble getting people, but now they've seen that it is a serious problem. And so some people are trying to solve things. We wanted to have a hospital for Morehouse students, med school students, to be able to go to and run and not have to go to Emory Midtown or somewhere else to do their internship. So a lot of people are buying into it now. So sometimes you can introduce something and you have to do it more than one time. That's another reason I'm offering myself to serve once again. So hopefully I can get it elected. As you said, we claiming the victory, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So after Tuesday, they're gonna see that I'm one that a force to be reckoned with. We're gonna fight and fight to make sure that that hospital authority is not just in vain. We passed it. Let us get some of the cities to buy into it and put in a hospital. And then what they do is when the cities go on that authority, they can put board members in. Each city will have so many board members, so they'll really have control over the hospital, and it'll be their hospital. So that's one of the things that I'm going to make sure that I continue. And we need bipartisan support on everything. So on the HOA predatory bill that I was talking about earlier, we were able to finally get some of the GOP members to come aboard. And one who is really working with me now heard on our hearing, he heard all these people in his district in Coweta County who were having some horrible things to happen to him. And they went and talked to him, and he came and joined in with me so that we can get legislation to save people's homes. People had folk their liens get $2,000 or more, and they can sell your property. The HOA can come and sell your property, no matter whether it's a $300,000 house or $1 million house. If you
Absolutely.
get $2,000 worth of liens and don't satisfy it, then they have the authority to sell it, and people are buying the houses on the courthouse steps. And unfortunately, it's either the lawyers of the HOAs,
Right.
or
Or they're working in conjunction
in
to
conjunction.
take this. And this is something that affects Democrat, Republican, or
Yeah,
independent. Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's good that you're able to reach across the aisle and work with your Republican colleagues on something that transcends party lines like this.
You know what, Diamond? I've been doing that for a while now with many other pieces of legislation. That's how I've been able to pass it, because we're one vote or one side of the vote without getting the other parties to come into it, especially since we're in the minority. So
Right.
I've been working with them, and as a result, I didn't sell out or anything. I never would do that. I'm fighting for us, like Jose Williams and Shirley Chisholm used to say, unbought and unbossed. I'm just
Yes.
committed to the people. But
Absolutely.
we make sure that we look out for the people first. And so they gave me a chairmanship many years ago. I was the only black at that time to get a chairmanship, and that was the Interstate Corporation. And a lot of the black folks say, "Oh, that's a token. They threw a bone to you," but I used it for all of their bills that never got a hearing. That
Right.
never, I put them in my committee. And so as a result, good bills and good legislation has passed with not just one party's name on that, but everybody who had good legislation. So now they have given me the Urban Affairs Committee as of last year. So that's even more important, because with Urban Affairs, all the things that I mentioned, they could come through my particular um, committee that I chair. And so, of course, it's like this: if you're the chairman, then you can make some decisions that other people cannot make. Now, when it leaves the committee, it's got to go to the floor and then to
Right.
the other side. So you have to have those strong commitments and coalitions. That's what we called it. I remember what's his name, Ralph David Abernathy. You see there. He said it's all about building coalitions. You
Absolutely.
on like-minded events, because everything, like you said, is not partisan. So
Right.
you build on either faith and religion, or on the road issues. Or I was top with the environmental issues for a long, long time. I created that bill called Zero Waste by 2020, and we encourage recycling, reducing, and all of that. But it's so many of the farmers who are legislators, and other people who live in some of the small towns, who really rely on good, clean air and good, clean water. So they came in and built a coalition with them. So it's all about the issues and the policy making that we try to do.
And finding things that you can agree on and having a point to start to build from. but you know,
Exactly.
naysayers are going to say whatever. But I think that it is so important to continue to do the work that you've been doing and building on the things that you've been building on. What do you think is your most important accomplishment of your tenure?
Well, I kind of mentioned it with my son. Once
Yeah,
I lost him, I
yeah,
wanted to make sure that we changed the laws. But I have passed so much legislation. I think the very first thing I say is education, because kids learn a different way. I'm a former educator. I'm the daughter of two Atlanta public school teachers, then principals, and my dad went on to the area office while he was still there. But my mom and dad spent more than 45 years each with Atlanta Public Schools. So I grew up in a family with education, and I tried it for a quick minute, but it's not for everybody.
it's not.
I wanted no, those kids, no. I had my
Yeah,
own to
yeah,
deal with, but I wanted to help them as a legislator. So I helped to raise the teachers' salaries. And we were the second lowest next to Mississippi. We were right there as the lowest in paying our teachers. And you get what you pay for. You
absolutely.
you don't pay them. So a lot of teachers, a lot of people would finish college, and the only reason they be a teacher is to have some money to pay off some of the bills and to go get another degree, and then they leave. So they get they it was just a stopping of
Yeah, they just
that.
passing through. They just passing through. But
Exactly.
uh,
So
yeah,
I changed that, and I changed the teachers and student ratio, because at one time we could have about 40 kids or more in one classroom. How can a teacher teach that many students? That's very difficult to do. So we changed that, and so now I don't know. It keeps fluctuating, but now it's not supposed to be more than 25.
yeah,
So
that and that's something sadly that we're seeing across the country.
it is.
And it is really important to have quality teachers that can manage the amount of students. It's a lot there. We need folks to get out Tuesday, May the 21st. Is there anything else that you want voters to know?
No, but just make sure you go 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on this coming Tuesday. Early voting stopped already, so you can't go today or tomorrow. You have to now go on Tuesday and vote all the way down the ticket. But please vote for the 28th Senate District, Donzella James. But all the way down the ticket, because there are a lot of important questions. A lot of people just skip over that. And then they find out that some huge taxes added on, or they no longer have the what do you call it, a homestead exemption is changed a little bit, so some of the seniors be relying on it, then they don't realize they didn't vote. When you don't vote, you don't count. That
Yes,
goes towards something that you may not have agreed with. And unfortunately, that's what happens. And we have so many judgeships on there. You might not know all those people, but I say a good 90% of the judges that's running unopposed. So find out who those other people are. You can go to my website even, and you'll get a chance to. You can follow the prompts on there to find out exactly who is representing what area, or what area you live in, and if you live in the district, and if not, how to get to the Secretary of State's website so you can learn even more. They say voter registration is so important, but voter education is more important, because you need to know who, what, and where you're voting. So
absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely, and that is very important. All the time we hear, folks talking about getting out to vote and encouraging them to vote. But you're right. That education piece, knowing what they need to do when they're in the booth,
Mhm.
is equally, like you say, it's more important, really, because if you go but you don't know what to do, or you make the wrong decisions just because you're there, So the education part, super important. I really appreciate you taking time to talk with me, Senator James. And best of luck to you. And I really want to thank you for your years of service in the community and all that you do.
Thank you, and it's been my honor and privilege to be on your show. I listened to it. I'm going to continue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay, happy Sunday. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.